So, back on February 19 of 2017, I was the victim of a home invasion. And I just want to tell this story and, well, some follow-up videos on what I've learned from this experience. But hopefully this will be useful for somebody else. And sorry if I keep looking over to the side, it's because I've got my notes. Basically, three guys broke into my house. Before they did that, though, they went to my neighbor's house, and excuse me, it was across the street and down a few houses. According to the neighbor, this happened about midnight. They think they said 12:30. It was probably closer to 4. But they said somebody banged on their door. Basically, there were multiple families living there, multiple generations of one family living in that 3-bedroom house. And it was the grandmother who saw somebody at the door just early in the morning, thought they were up to no good, didn't answer the door, but woke up the other 2 men who lived in the house. They were some sort of construction. Shoot, I should have wrote this down. I think they did carpeting. And they had a lot of expensive tools in their truck, and they thought somebody was planning to mess with their truck. So she went and woke them up. At that point, the thieves, calling them thieves, they didn't actually steal anything from me, but I'm pretty sure that's why they broke into my house. The thieves moved down to my house. When they got there, they looked at the front. At the time, I was parking in the garage, and I was single, so there was no vehicles visible on the street from the outside. They walked around. They actually opened the gate to my backyard, walked through that, I think. So my best guess, because I found the gate open and I never used that gate. And so they probably walked around the back of my house to look for any signs of someone being home. Now this would have been about 4:15 a.m. I had gotten home from hanging out with some friends from church and going out to dinner, and I was well asleep by the time this happened. So at roughly 4:30 a.m., they kicked in my front door. Now, I was on a 2-story house at the time, and I was in the master bedroom when this happened. I heard the door get kicked in. My first reaction to hearing that loud bang sound was that somebody had driven their car into the house. It's like, that's what it sounded like. Turns out it's incredibly easy to kick in a residential front door. So I was kind of a little slow to get up because it was 4 a.m. I was asleep, kind of groggy still. And I assumed I had a drunk person who just drove their car into my house, and I was going to have to deal with that. So I was a little grumpy, but not moving that fast. So I got up. I grabbed a handgun I had beside my bags. I wasn't sure what I was dealing with. For the gun guys, it was a Smith & Wesson M&P 9 full-size Massachusetts edition with Ameriglow ProGlow front sight, Warren tactical rear sight, loaded with, I want to say Remington or Hornady Critical Defense. It might have been Remington Golden Sabers. I don't remember for sure. It was my whatever. It had some trigger work done to it. I can't remember the company that I got the trigger kit from. But basically, it was my old IDPA competition gun. I got up and grabbed that. When they kicked in the front door of my house, at least one person entered the house, probably 2, and there was probably one person who stayed outside, just from what I've been able to reconstruct of the event. I woke up. They came into my living room at that point on the first floor. Somebody bumped into the couch and knocked a pillow off it and kind of knocked it out of position as they came in. So at least one of the robbers came to the second story. But remember, I'm two-story house. Once you kick in the front door, they would have seen my living room with the TV set up, computer set up, and a set of stairs that leads to the second floor with a loft kind of overlooking it. What I know is one went into, stayed on the first floor, went into the kitchen. I found one very long black hair in my sink that I have no explanation for. So I'm guessing one of the thieves either had long black hair, was a dude with long hair, or was a woman. I'm not sure which. And another one came up to the second floor. Now, my second floor was kind of a loft layout. Like here on this side, we have the master bedroom. Then, like, it had an L-shaped hallway coming out of the master bedroom. I should probably MS Paint this, but anyways, there's the master bedroom. Right next to that was another bedroom that I completely didn't use at all. I closed the door to that room, closed the air vents. It was a completely unused room. And then there was kind of an L-shaped hallway coming out. So from the master bedroom, I could like see halfway down the hallway. Right as it turned, there was another bedroom there, and that I was using as the guest bedroom. And then after the L, it went to the loft. So one of the robbers came up the stairs. They opened the door to my guest bedroom and turned the light on. Now, that room had a ceiling fan, so it was a very distinctive flicker pattern from the light with the ceiling fan spinning and reflecting the light. So I could see that light from underneath the door from the master bedroom. So I knew something was a little weird. But I don't remember having been to that room recently. I figured there's a small chance I was. When I saw the light come on and noticed that, I called 911. So I had a gun and my cell phone beside the bed, grabbed the cell phone, called 911. I remember the operator asking, do I want police or EMS? And I said, hey, I think somebody just broke into my house. So they must have routed to police. They asked if I had a gun. I told them yes. They said good. At that point, I wasn't 100% sure what was going on. So at that point, I hear voices. Now, my house had weird echo patterns. So if somebody was in the driveway, it would sound, or if somebody was in the loft, it echoed weirdly and sounded from a person in the master bedroom. It sounded like they were actually in my driveway. So I hear voices at this point, and they were speaking Spanish or something that sounds a lot like Spanish. What I pieced together since then, and from what several police officers have told me, is what probably happened is two people went into the house, one person stayed outside as a kind of a spotter, a scout, and what probably happened is the person outside saw the light in the master bedroom come on, saw me, my silhouette, because I would have been silhouetted against that window from the way the light was, silhouetted to the exterior window. And they probably saw my silhouette on the phone with 911. And they probably came in to tell the other people, like, hey, there's somebody home, you should leave. I know I was on the phone with 911 at 4:34 a.m. because I had a desk clock next to the bed, so I could see that. While I was on the phone with 911, and after I heard these voices, I exited the bedroom, the master bedroom. I saw that the guest bedroom door was open and the light was on. Just kind of weird, but it was weird, but not, it didn't freak me out for some reason. I went down that L-shaped hallway, out of the master bedroom, and around the corner into the loft. And from the loft, I could see out the front door, and my front door is wide open. And there was a little bit of wood on the ground, which turned out to be like the exterior framing of a door. When it gets kicked in, a little bit of the wood, let's walk over. When that gets kicked in, a little bit of the wood here would pop out, and that's what it was. So I saw that. I didn't know what was going on. I let 911 know, and I retreated back to the master bedroom. I basically went as far back as I could and still see that hall down the hallway. So I kind of hit the longest line of sight possible. It's worth noting that when the thieves came through the house, they literally turned on every light in the house as they came through. There was no keep the lights off, try to be sneaky. They're literally walking through the house, turning every light on as they went. So the whole house was pretty well lit at that point. I left the bedroom door open, so I had that nice long line of sight down the hallway. I say long, it was probably 15 feet at most. I look out the window behind me because I hear there's something else outside. And I saw two dudes going down the street. One was wearing like windbreaker jogger pants and no shirt at all. And the other one was wearing a like A-frame undershirt with the wife beater shirt and a pair of like basketball shorts. And they were literally just walking down the street on the other side of the street. Turns out, I found out later, this was my neighbors, the carpet guys, who were trying to look around the neighborhood to see if somebody was messing with their truck. So I just relayed that to 911, like, hey, I saw these guys, they look a little suspicious. The 911 operator was trying to keep me talking while I was on the phone with them. They're probably just making sure I was still there, but she tried to keep, honestly I don't remember if it was male or female, but the operator I was talking to tried to keep me talking. A few minutes later, I saw police officers run down the street in the same direction I had seen my neighbors go. I don't know exactly where they parked. They hadn't parked in front of my house when this happened. The 911 operator then asked me to put down my gun because the police were there. Well, they were on the street outside, but I kind of put down the gun on the bed and stepped back from it. But like, I hear some voices at my door, and then I hear somebody yell, "Police, police." I responded by saying something to the effect of, "I'm the homeowner, I'm on the second floor in the master bedroom." They told me to wait where I was, at which point, like, I'm in the master bedroom. I know these two cops are probably running on adrenaline. They don't know what's going on. They don't know who I am. So I've got the gun put away on the bed, and I put my hands up. Like, when they see me, I don't want there to be any confusion. Empty hands, right where they can see. So the officers cleared the house. They cleared like the first floor, kitchen, pantry, bathroom, and then came upstairs. When I saw the officers at the end of the hallway, I told them, "Hey, I'm the homeowner." I just identified myself. Now, when they got to the L-shaped hallway, at the end, they could see me down one side, and apparently they hadn't cleared the guest bedroom or the unused room. So they cleared that. Interestingly, Austin Police Department, APD, also uses Smith & Wesson M&P in 9mm. And these guys were probably in their mid to late 20s. Incredibly fit, incredibly squared away. I mean, they are guns out clearing the house. So they see me, they like, other than my hands up and not me identifying myself, they ignored me and cleared those other two rooms. And it was one officer in one room, one officer in the next room. Once the first officer had cleared his room, he came into the master bedroom. I realized at some point in this process the 911 operator had hung up on me. The first officer who came into my bedroom basically blocked me from access. Like, he physically got in the way of the hallway, made sure I wouldn't be able to leave, which didn't bother me much at the time, but just something to be aware of. Kind of makes sense because he doesn't know who I am. He asked for my phone number and he asked my name and ID. My wallet was sitting on the dresser on the other side of the bed, so I told him, "Hey, that's where it is." And he's like, "Okay, go get, you can grab it." So I went around to grab that off there, gave him my driver's license, gave him my concealed handgun license, and gave him a phone number. He then asked me a couple questions. For the most part, I don't remember. After this, he asked me to walk through the house with him to see if anything was missing. So I kind of went with him through all the bedrooms. I didn't notice anything was missing. As I was going through this, he was trying to keep me talking, and I don't know if he was trying to distract me from one thing or another, but he asked me if I had any enemies. He asked me if anyone else was living in the house or visiting regularly, etc. What I found out later is that my neighbors also had seen my silhouette in the window of the master bedroom when I was on the phone, And I'm short. I'm 5'4". So they called this in to the police as being a domestic disturbance. So the police kept asking me about like a significant other or girlfriend. This place was definitely a bachelor pad back then. Like it wasn't nice like this, like it is here. As we kind of once we had gone through and seen nothing obviously was missing, they asked me to have a seat at my kitchen table on the first floor, and they went. Oh, the officer was showing me around. Told me he wanted to talk to his supervisor. So I sat down in the kitchen. I don't think I was wearing a shirt then. I think I just had pajama bottoms on. At some point I asked if I put on a t-shirt, and they said, yeah, whatever. So I put on a t-shirt. It was kind of cold. It was Texas, but it was still February. Anyways, I sat down at the kitchen table, and I could see on my microwave the clock there was at 4:56 a.m. So we're talking a total of 25 minutes from the break-in to the police finish clearing the house and walk through with me. The two officers chatted among. They walked out of the house just right outside the front door and were talking. They gave me a case number. They like wrote it on a sheet of paper and handed it to me. They showed me a footprint in the dust on my front door. So like they could tell that the front door got kicked in because there's a footprint there. They told me that the two guys I saw were my neighbors. I kind of knew that. They said they had knocked on a few doors and none of my neighbors had seen anything. And so they said it was probably an opportunistic robbery. That was their exact words. And that the robbers probably thought no one was home because the lights were off and the truck was in the garage instead of being in the driveway. I was probably the only person in that neighborhood who didn't park in the driveway or on the street. But they gave me this case number and left. And they told me a detective would call me back in the morning. Well, I never got that phone call from a detective. And this was 2017, so more than 6 years has passed. Occasionally I would actually, I kept the sheet of paper with the case number just sitting in front of my computer for years, and I periodically would check the APD website for the status of the case. And it was basically no changes. I think the detective had been assigned, but he never contacted me. And that was deleted off the APD website after a few years. It stopped showing up. Now, the front door of my house, when it had been kicked open, wouldn't close properly after it had been kicked open. So I literally shoved a sofa against it so I could go to work, even though the house wasn't secured. Kind of brought some valuables with me to work. Came up with like the cheapest stuff at Home Depot to just kind of piece the door together so it would close after work. And then, well, we'll go into the after action and lessons learned on the next video. So subscribe, it'll probably get posted next week.